wageni watatu wa Mheshimiwa Sebastian Kapufi mbunge, ambao ni wadau wa maendeleo kutoka Marekani. Wadau wa maendeleo kutoka Marekani, karibuni sana.
Shalom, salama, siemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world. Whether you're the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you are a Gentile that is grafted in to the house under the blood of Yahusha HaMashiach, our Redeemer. Our Redeemer for the whole world. For the whole world. We welcome you this morning. Today is Q2UA Africa Friday, and this segment is dedicated to the mission of Q2UA Africa. And that mission is to build critical infrastructure and economic development on the continent for the benefit of Africa and its people worldwide. So, family, Q2A's board of directors had told me to pick a switch earlier this week, and they said, Brother Karras, you best not deviate from the script. Try us. I'm already in trouble less than 5 minutes into this. Hallelujah. No, thank you for our Q2A family, because I want this segment to be very focused on Q2UA Africa and actually having something to where our people know what it is that we'll be covering on a week-by-week basis. You know, for me, in the Covenant Awakenings segment, I like to let our people have a free range, right? Liberty. So, and that's fine, because I love to hear what is on the minds of our people. And when you hear what's on the minds of our people, you understand, look, if we are saying something about it, then you know the other nations are saying something about what's happening. We're not the only ones talking about what's going on in the Ivory Coast with the French warships. We're not the only ones talking about what's going on in Burkina Faso with attempted assassinations. We're not the only ones talking about it. The world is talking about it. We just don't get the feedback because they don't want us to know that we're talking about what we're talking about, because that means that we become empowered. And the name of the game is they don't want us to be empowered. The name of the game is they don't want us to know who we are. And the name of the game is they don't want us to do the work that has already been promised for us to do. And that's fine, because it's not our glory, it's the Most High's glory. And I'm good with that. But until that day comes, we're going to sit here, we're going to talk about this. And that's what we do at Q2UA. We plan, we implement, we provide, we assess, and we coordinate. So, with that strategic partnership building, Q2A is building relationship bridges with our businesses, communities, and media counterparts on the continent. And that's because we recognize that our relationships are our currency, and it is the cornerstone of critical infrastructure. Being able to provide critical infrastructures that you have to be able to build with yourselves and have that relationship to build. It is a very complicated but simple mechanism. So, with that, we've also launched our cultural engagement department. And our cultural engagement department will spearhead and facilitate the critical conversations we need among ourselves in the diaspora and how we navigate those relationship building frameworks and concepts. We have to relate that to our brothers and sisters on the continent. It's one thing to say and talk and do, but how do you express it? We've always been told in the here in the West that love is expressed through monetary output, and that's a lie. Why do you need to express monetary output to a people that are sitting on all of the world's resources? You know that was once our resources, that was once our land, and that's where we were taken from, and that's where we're going back to, as the word says. But we have to be able to communicate to our brothers and sisters our struggles, our hurts, our pains. Once we're able to communicate that, then we can grow. And growth is an action. It is an action word. And part of that is to learn. So, community service in action. We are excited to announce our community service project event this week in Atlanta. We are engaging the next generation to put their hands to work and help mobilize these incredible mother newborn kids. So, family, we're working with our community, we're working with our partners to provide, to deliver, to equip our mother newborn kids on the continent. And I'm going to be pressing this. I'm going to be pressing this because here's the thing, in October we need your help. Let me tell you something about October. October is generally the in government you're going to have, it's called CFC, combined federal campaign. And that combined federal campaign, when I would be on active duty, they would send on out these little sheets. You fill out the sheets, you sign it, and you give them the contribution and things of that nature. And I'm not going to lie to you, I never saw anything that I really wanted to give to. It was never really worthwhile. Because why? There was nothing that was there that could be specifically utilized for us, i.e., black folks in the future. So when you would see all the big threes, March of Dimes, Red Cross, you know, some American Health Institute. Those are the big ones. Not to say that they don't do any work. And I appreciate the work that they do. Don't get that wrong. But that's not work that's designated or focused on us. Even our traditional associations and things that they give to us. Bottom line, it gets filtered from out of our hands to their hands. So, no, I was never really big on donating. Yeah, they may have a quote unquote worthy or admirable cause, but nothing was there that was specifically for us. Oh, yeah, you can give to United Negro College Fund. Okay. Who was that ran by? Who do they give that to? Make your Boule oath and then you can get your scholarship. No, I'm good. And the reason I say that, and I can attest to that, is because most of the people that earned that United Negro College Fund, 99% of them went to some sort of fraternity or sorority. And you know the outcomes from there. And those are stories for other days. So here today, I'm pleased to announce that we will be sending our some of our executives over to the continent in November. And we will be sending them out with mother newborn kits. And that's the first step in delivering on our promises of what we're pledging. We have around 150 mother newborn kits pledged. We have 500 that we have committed. So we're about, give or take, roughly 30% of our goal has been completed. And now we can go to these countries and we could say, especially in Tanzania, here you go. And then from there, we have our team on the ground that can do the needs assessments, that can look and touch base with our brothers and sisters over there, that can connect on the ground with our brothers and sisters with the Dry Bones Project. Because why? Because this is truly it's an organization that's the connective tissue. To do what? How do we allow for our brothers and sisters to go over to the continent to make a difference? Because generally speaking, we go over to the continent and we get stymied because there's no block, there's no force, there's nothing behind it. United, you have a force. Divided, you just get plucked off. Well, who you coming with? Well, just me, myself, and I. Okay. That's gonna be 15,000 for you. Hey, wait. I thought this person had this and this person. Yeah, they did, but they did that. Oh, they did, but they moved like this. But we're not gonna move like this because we wanted to do this for them to get you on over here. You gotta understand, they know how to make money on the continent, especially with us. because they'll dangle the carrot. Oh, yeah, we got you. But we knew that y'all were going to be lining right up behind them, and y'all didn't want to do the very first thing, get a special designation for yourself, lobby to get things done for your group, lobby to get things done for your people. So, with that, again, we need your help because going over to the continent is not cheap. Supporting our brothers and sisters on the ground are not cheap. We need your help. But there's a plan established, as an itinerary that's being developed because they go in November. And so this gives us adequate time to help our brothers and sisters on out. So we need to be able to get the funds together to make this travel happen. Thank you again for those that support Quest Unite Africa. And those funds are there to ensure that we could send emails, to ensure that we can answer phones, that we can meet and develop ideas, that we can coordinate and do the basic things. And that costs money. Applying to get your 501c3, that actually costs money. You don't just apply for free. Working with these other organizations to get your charity established and officially recognized, that costs money. That does not happen for free. Going over to the continent, that costs money. It doesn't happen for free. Registering a company, registering an LLC, registering an NGO on the continent, it does cost money. It is not done for free. And those are the things that we are doing. And we need your help with that. So, with that, also, please join us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. It's spelled out Quest to Unite Africa. Share your insights, be a part of the community there. Because those articles that you share are some of the things that we share here in these Q2UA discussions because they're very applicable. Alrighty. Now I had. Sorry, family. Let me get this together. Well, yeah, we're all right. That's not going to really work too well. Okay, we'll figure this on out. Yeah, there's some articles I'm just going to drop that in the chat. Why Africa does not grow its own food. And I know we've had these discussions before in the past of why Africa doesn't grow its own food. I submitted that in the chat so you all can check that on out. And so we'll go ahead and share this. Fair use, fair use. But before we do, I was going to have a panel on. Which was going to be Brother Michael. But before I share this link, here is my call to action. Help us continue the work by visiting quest2uniteafrica.org. Your gift will help us continue the amazing work supplying mothers on the continent with critical medical supplies to ensure safe newborn delivery on the continent. Your donation will also help Quest Unite Africa continue to build strategic, political, business, and media partnerships that advance the interest of the diaspora and our brothers and sisters in Africa. Please also join our Facebook group and engage in a discussion for seizing this historic opportunity to build in the continent alongside our brothers and sisters. With that said, all right, let me bring up Brother Mike. Shalom, Brother Mike. We're gonna look at this. We're gonna look at this, and then I'll have your first take, and then we'll start to introduce our panel. I'll put the link on out there for discussions because we're gonna have some videos to show, and I'm gonna say this. This is BYOV, BYOV, or maybe BYOC. Bring your own clips. And let's discuss BYOC. All right, so here we go. Let me share this clip because Mike, this is exactly your alley right here. Okay.
And third world debt different from the American debt. Number one, America is never going to pay its debts. It doesn't have to. Its debts are in its own currency. We can simply print it. The African debt is not in its currency. The African debt is in US dollars. Africa has to earn the US dollars, and the only way it can earn the US dollars is not to be assassinated for growing its own food and becoming independent and doing something that the United States does not like. The principle underlying the foundation of the World Bank is that no country should grow its own food. Africa and the third world should only grow export crops. To export, in order to have an oversupply of cocoa and other tropical raw materials, to keep down the price, they must buy their grain from the United States or Europe, so that if they do something you don't like, we can sanction them. We can say, we're going to starve you. We're going to not export any grain to you. What makes Africa?
Are you joking me?
You're hearing it from the horse's mouth.
That's
Tell me what you think about the video, Mike.
speechless. Man, that is. This is what they think about Africa. This is what they've done to Africa. And like the man said, you step out of line, you dead. We seen them do it. History has shown what these countries has done to Africa. Killed leaders, even the leaders here, black leaders. But that right there, that is just messed up on so many different levels because he's telling the truth. And then there's other videos out there that's saying, hey, we got to keep Africa poor. The sad thing I hate is this, Karis. We have to ask for donations to go there and to write our new way of life, according to Yah. It costs us money to do that. It did not cost us money when it came and took our forefathers. It didn't. That's by force. And then they brought more force on top of that. Now we have awakening to a whole different way of thinking, whole way of doing things. We see what they have done over the years. We're trying to counteract what they got in place right to this very day. That video is why we ask for donations. That video, we're trying to do things a lot different than what they are trying to keep and to keep moving on. You go tell me Africa can't grow. Africa grows a great deal of crops. They just ship them out. What is it? The IMF, or what do you call it, Karis? That group?
Yeah, the IMF, International Monetary Fund.
Ooh. Then it's the word monitor. That's the one you're looking at, the monitor. They know exactly what they're doing to Africa. And how is it possible you growing all of that stuff in Africa and our people still scrapping, looking for food? That is just like it's just like impossible. But they managed to work that situation out to doing that. And now, sorry about that. And this is this path with Yah put us upon. He woke us up. He woke us up. And when we woke up, we started seeing things. Oh, wait a minute, this is what they think about Africa. And a lot of us, when we woke up, we was kind of upset. But you know, and you know, with time, we calmed down and we started attacking their logic, their doings, and their future doings. And we pretty much left everything into the scriptures. What did Yah say he's going to do? This here, and it's not the man himself. I'm quite sure he's just relating what countries has done and implemented to the continent of Africa in order to feed the world, to fatten their pockets, and to keep slavery alive and kicking. All right, leave them on the land.
Well, you know, now this kind of begs the question, right? This begs the question. And I want to bring it from this viewpoint. So if this man is telling the truth about the exports, then what does that mean about the leadership that the African nations have had that have allowed it?
You know what? I couldn't sleep last night. So I got up, watched my Little Kingdom Preppers. And they have this 3-part series. And it's not long. But then in there, it was a scripture. I forgot what the scripture. I think it was in Ezekiel. And Yah said that the ones that are in power now, the one that he said, the ones who are least important now will be the most important ones. And the ones that are important now will be the least important. And he said he's going to discipline his own people how they treated his people. You know, you got some puppets out there. I mean, and the way the world does it, alrighty, they so poor and they see some money, they'll do anything against their own people. And unfortunately, that has happened. It happened, and we could see it with some of these countries, the bongos, and their history. And the sad thing about it is that president, him and his kids, they are financially just downright illiterate. Where you have all of that money sitting in your place in suitcases, and it's nothing but paper currency. Paper currency. He's a dumb person. Now you go look for
paper has no value, and
there you go.
Let me kind of explain. Paper doesn't have any value. The value that they are literally showing you are the resources and raw materials, which is what the professor just said on that video. That's the value. That's the currency. But the real currency for us here at Quest Unite Africa is being able to go to our brothers and sisters on the ground and to build and establish a relationship. See, we were never allowed to establish a relationship. They literally had policy regarding us establishing a relationship on the continent. And now, surprise, surprise, since Black people are moving to the continent in droves, now all of a sudden it's taken a while. It's taken months to process passports, where 2 or 3 years ago, it would only take like a couple weeks. It would only take you a couple weeks to get a passport established. No. They understand what's happening and they see the tide turning, because here's the thing. Do you not think that these nations don't know? And what ended up happening was you literally had Ibrahim Traore rise up in Burkina Faso and said, not today. And then let out all the secrets. And now all of literally West Africa is on pins and needles, because even Ghana is like, we need to see transparency. So this is really a situation that they have to contend with, because as they're contending with, well, are you going to get mad at the brother for exposing things, or are you going to change it? And here's the thing. They're not changing it. And guess what's happened? The people are changing them. The people are changing out the leadership. And this year, don't think that there won't be a couple more countries that fall. This is why they had to do the Global Fragility Act. That's why the United States had to do it. You have to understand what we're saying. We're not saying anything that's totally controversial. Honestly, we're not. We're actually telling you the truth of how this world works. It's just those that don't want to listen to the truth. Well, guess what? You're either going to accept the truth and then plan for it, or you're going to deny the truth. And then when you get hit with the denial because you didn't plan for the inevitable, then whose fault is that? There's no fault found in Judah. Whose fault is that? We're telling you the truth. This is why they know, oh man, there's going to be a real famine. They've even talked to you about food shortages and things of that nature. Why? Because as nations, as the African continent continues to reclaim things, then guess what? Those foodstuffs will not be available. And those foodstuffs, they get exported. And those exports, they come here to the U.S. Do not get it twisted. Those commodities will start to become limited. And yes, it will absolutely affect us. Absolutely. So don't misunderstand or don't get redirected into, well, this and well, that. No, what we're doing is critically important because you want to know why? Because the continent's striking back. The continent is striking back. The continent is striking back. The people are beginning to rise up. So
that's where your money come in at. That's how you become rich. You get there and you mingle with the brothers and sisters. And no, that is a richness. I don't even think we can truly understand that. I don't think we can understand the depth of reuniting with your brothers and sisters. I don't think we understand the depth. We are the trendsetters. We are. Whether the world will say it by music, movies, whatever, entertainment, they know it. Now, this here, the government asking these other outside and Western worlds for some transparency and democracy. Karis, one day the asking will stop. It's going to be a mandatory. It's going to be mandated. Where brothers are going to say, no, we don't need your transparency. Do what you think you need to do, but you won't be doing it here. That right there is that's on the horizon.
So let me ask you this, Mike, because I know a lot of people are going to ask this. Well, is it going to be safe for us to travel there? We are a representative of the West. Whether or not we want to, look, just by lingual, that's it. Our thought processes, that's it. So will that be safe for us to travel there? And on top of that, will there even be any type of travel if these continents are deemed, unsafe or things of that nature? What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Well, truthfully, yeah, it's I can't say it will be safe. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that lie. Of course, we're doing things according to Yah's will, and Yah's will is that His will is against what they have put in place. Yes, we know for a fact it's not a safe thing to do, but at the same time, they can't strike like they used to strike. It is absolutely a known fact. The so-called Black Hebrew Israelites, these people are on the rise, and the churches have taken notice of this, not just here in the United States, also in the EU. These brothers and sisters are on on the rise. Why is it that religion been around since what 1800s? Where is this group of people coming from? Why? I mean, why is the thing spreading so fast? And if you look at 2019, and you go and you type in on YouTube anything about Black Hebrew, man, you go get so many different channels. It's gonna be unbelievable. Not saying that all are on point. I'm not saying that. This is the link that the world has used to
So let
group
me
us together.
so let me clarify this. So we are a faith-based organization at Quest Unite Africa that is a nonprofit organization. We ascribe to the understanding that we are the descendants of the Israelites of the Bible based off of
Hallelujah.
scientific, historical, genetic, and archaeological and anthropological studies that have confirmed this. So I want us to really understand, because especially, and I'm quipping this in here for a reason. This is a quip for a reason, because these do have implications on our 501c3. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I have to really tell you this is why. This is why we say it. We're not just saying it because, well, it makes us feel good and I'm just claiming something because I want to claim it. No, there's actually research that proves and validates the point. So, with that being said, that's why I want to make sure that I qualify that. So, when he talks about how they have labeled us as an organization that, let's just understand, those aren't the best
Yeah,
the best you know um selling points of the organization.
exactly.
And of course it's not the best because a lot of these folks are your cointel and other types of operatives. That's just what happens. How many other fringe organizations was there during the civil rights group? During civil rights, you had all these things. Oh, civil rights are a bunch of marauders and thugs and all this other stuff. That's why you didn't have a lot of black support. After the fact, years later, oh yeah, I supported Martin Luther King, and it's like, did you really? No, not really.
Hmm.
So, I want to make sure that we have that understanding because this is for the general audience. I know that folks that typically are on the Covenant Awakenings channel, you all understand that fact extremely well, but I want to qualify that because this is Quest Unite Africa. This is on our Quest Unite Africa platform. This is what we show for our Quest Unite Africa audience. Okay. And we don't want to show or prescribe that we're some fringe element that's whacked out on a theological rhetoric that doesn't include all nations. No, that's not the case. And we read the word, and
Wait.
there's
Hmm.
a building that's done amongst the Most High's people, all those that do what? That call on his name. We just understand that we are in a time and we're in a space that has been prophesied. So, are these nations working against the Most High? Yeah, absolutely. Are we calling that out? Yeah, absolutely. But we're not calling for anything else. We're just letting the Most High be the Most High. And guess what? He's doing a fantastic job of doing that on the continent, especially there in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and other places. But what we're trying to say is, look, we have to be able to build up our relationship. They're the ones, think about this. They're the ones that's burning down the relationship because why? Because here's the thing. If you've been a thief for hundreds of years and now you're told that you need to actually pay, well, don't call me a thief. Then what are you doing? What is this called? It's called theft. Well, it's not theft when you do this. Yes, it is. It's still theft.
Hmm. When they let it, in their mind, I mean, for hundreds of years, they've dominated. They dominated. They plundered. Um, and I'm like, I know they understand their lot in life, the things they have done, and the things that they are doing. Now, if I'm not mistaken, do the French have a ship on the west coast of Africa?
They have two ships.
Two ships.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you call trying to intimidate someone
Absolutely.
because you can't get your way. Now,
Absolutely.
France went and took on the personality of Karen. Please
Well,
correct me if I'm wrong.
here's the thing. Karen has always been a Karen,
Well, that's
but
true.
it's just the fact that now it's more amplified, right? This has always been the tactic because you saw the tactic with Haiti. But now you're saying, well, that just happened to Haiti, so that's not going to happen to us. No, now it's, you know, it's a blessing, to be honest, with these nations and where they're at because they are in an area, it's landlocked. You see what I'm saying? So if you want to get into those nations, you gotta go into these other nations. And these other nations, they don't want to see that because that's hostile territory. You see what I'm saying? If you're gonna
Hmm.
run up into my house with guns to try to get into somebody else's house that may look exactly like me, then guess what? Who is now in the crosshairs?
Hmm.
Wait. Don't shoot me. This is my apartment. Don't shoot me. This is my house. This is my townhouse. He's on the other side. Don't shoot me. Oh, oops. Sorry, I shot because you all look the same.
Hmm.
You get what I'm telling you? This is the analogy. It's not going to end well, especially for those that aid and abet the robbery. Because what do you call it? What do you
Still
really
robbery.
call it? It's robbery. And you can't really say and try to obfuscate whatever diplomatic reasonings or whatever language that they want to use, whatever jargon they want to propose. Well, it's this. No. Listen, that stops today. Oh, but we've had this long-standing agreement. I don't care. You've had a
Yeah.
long-standing agreement to steal stuff. Okay. I mean, think about this. If their
Well,
rationale is correct, then guess what? Rationally speaking, none of us should even be on here. Rationally speaking, let's go with their rationale. I just want you to understand their rationale and what they're saying. We should not even be out of chains. We should still be enslaved. All of us. That's their rationale. It's a long-standing thing. It's been here. Well, it doesn't matter if it's a if you're treated like chattel slavery, it's just long-standing. That's their rationale. Let me explain to you when I was talking yesterday on Covenant Awakenings channel. regarding the bond market. And now the bond market, here's an article. I want to bring this on up. This is from Market Insider, and I'm going to share the screen. Then after that, I'm going to open up for the panel. Again, there will be instructions for the panel to follow. And if not, then you're just going to have to be politely kicked off the show. It'll be politely.
Collapse in treasury bonds now rank among the worst. Wow.
So, remember I had brought up the article yesterday regarding how bonds, especially how bonds were created for the express purpose of the promotion of the slave trade. And don't think that things had literally just, they upped and went away. No. It just matured into its next cycle because nobody got paid any reparations. What they did, all right, everything that came on in, now we're going to push on out to here. What was owed doesn't get paid to you. It gets paid to somebody else. Or it's another derivative, or it's another security, or whatever you want to call it. And now you literally have a meltdown. The bond market sell-off sending yield soaring is starting to eclipse some of the most extreme market meltdowns of past eras. Bloomberg reported losses on treasury bonds with maturity of 10 years or more had notched 46% since March 2020, while the 30-year had plunged 53%. Here we go. Those losses are nearly in line with stock market losses seen during the worst crashes of recent history, when equities slumped 49% after the dot-com bubble burst and 50% in the aftermath of 2008. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to drop this article. This article is in the chat. So I want you all to understand this. They're literally telling you that potentially, and this isn't financial advice. This is not financial advice. But they're trying to tell you that there is now the propensity of a stock market shock. They won't say anything else than that by next week. Because the crash is happening now. And what happens is that when you have your bonds are treasury bonds. Your treasury does what? Your treasury backstops the market. So when you had everything going on back on Monday and Tuesday, and when they distinctly said that there was intervention, that intervention comes from the federal markets, which is through the treasury. Which means that the Treasury is backstopping the market, which means that as they continue to backstop, that means that the monies will be worth less and less and less. What really means is the market won't necessarily collapse per se. It just means that we're going to get ready to see some of the most ridiculous inflation that we've ever seen here. That's going to be my analysis. Because why? They can print. Now they're going to try and shed as many jobs as they can. Oh, trust and believe, they're going to try and shed as many jobs. No, this place has to close. This place has to close. This thing has to close. This has to close. Because why? Because they don't want to pay people. They can't. Oh, it's not your fault that the prices are going up. It's just that you can't find a job. Well, why are the prices going up still? I don't know.
I mean, it's not making no sense. I mean, if I mean, what? I mean, we're gonna be dependent upon buying food from a grocery store. It's not like that the vast majority of people here in the West has a garden, not a farm, a
No,
garden.
no,
You
it's
know what
not
I'm
going
saying?
to be that you're going to be dependent on food from a grocery store. You're going to be dependent on food that is delivered to you as part of your foodstuffs allocation.
Hold on, you
That
about to? Are you saying to me? Hold on, man. Oh no, you got it. No, wait, hold on, Karis. So this money situation that you just explained, they know it's going. They already know it's worthless.
bingo.
So now all they doing is, all right, how we gonna keep the people in servitude? Is that the word? Is by giving them a stipend every month or something? Is this is what the government is, and we gonna give them
You
food
won't
that
even
we.
you won't even have a
Mhm.
stipend. You're going to have food boxes. Because why? Because now their curses are reversing because now their crops are having to be sold, right? It's a market scheme, right? Keep the crops, keep the crops, keep the crops. But the problem is America's crops are done on contracts too. Because why? It's worth more to sell to the other nations than it is to sell amongst ourselves. So now here we go. Now they've stuck themselves into this perpetual loop that was utilized for other nations, and now it's being utilized in this nation. Yeah,
So
yeah, government block,
mhm.
yeah, cheese blocks. And the reason that they'll do that is because remember what they're trying to do is, well, we now need to be in a war economy. What does that war economy look like? A mass production of everything.
what my concern is this. I'm talking about us. I'm just looking at us. Yeah, we somewhat seen that already, but it would appear that whatever curses they call themselves, or I ain't gonna say curses, whatever wickedness they did to Africa, those curses as to when it comes down to crops and that the Africans had to ship what they grew to these different countries for them to refine it and then sell it back to them. Now, are you saying that the same thing is happening now? They didn't sit up and shot themselves in the foot. They call themselves trying to do not necessarily where they want to grow the crops, they want to monitor the crops, they want to uh, recode the seed
Hmm.
of these, and they just really wants to be thoroughly in control. Take it out of God's hands, and I say God with the lowercase g, and we can be mm, this world, or we can manage our own food stuff. We don't need this creator to do it. It's like they're trying to destroy the Elohim, the creator of heaven and earth.
Well,
That's
remember their revolution slash they think of their evolution as, they're building it through AI. AI is the symbiont life form that's then going to take over, the organic life form, which is the Most High's creation. You see what I'm saying? So now with that being
how
then corrupted, right? Because you have to, in order to maintain and sustain in this world, you have to then, you know, you're going to have to assimilate. You're going to have to assimilate into the AI Borg, and that's what they're trying to do right then and there. All right, we're going to take away all these foodstuffs. We got to start with where? We got to start with Africa. Because why? Because Africa feeds the world. And we want to get rid of the most highest people. Because why? Because they're on the continent. They're on the ground. And we got to get rid of the folks in the diaspora. Because why? Because they're influential. If we keep speaking up about the truth, then guess what? They're going to keep hearing it. And if they keep hearing it, then they're going to ask questions. And if they ask questions, it's not going to bode well for them. So all these things that's taken place, I look at it like this. And I had to bring that on up because now we're kind of seeing things in real time, that things will I hate to use the word crash because it's not going to be a crash in the traditional sense. Because remember, they don't have to have anything crash. They can print into oblivion. The problem is when they print into oblivion, that is going to be a preface for war. It's not that war wasn't ever going to come. It has to come. Because if you're a nation that's then being harmed by hyperinflation of a fake dollar, now we got to control this thing. Something is broken. I told you earlier, we're in a zombie system. The nation went brain dead in 2020. As soon as COVID happened, everybody left. That's when you had your CEOs jumping ship.
Mm.
It's a brain dead system. So what is it doing? It's just doing the jerks and other things to do what? To do what it can to stay on life support. But staying on life support is what? It's destroying other nations. This is why you see Malawi saying, I'm not paying back
Oh yeah,
the
you seen
IMF.
that? Yeah, I
Because
seen
why?
that.
It's a brain dead system. So what are you going to do? You're just going to do whatever you can in the brain dead system to get all the resources that you can. And then when you get beaten back, then people are going to say, who's the decision makers at the top that made this reckless decision? And then people are going to be pointing fingers. Well, he's a decision maker. He's a decision maker. Biden's going to be pointing, both ways as that person makes a decision. And it's going to be totally all out chaos.
Mm, mm, mm.
We've decided to let the UN peacekeepers in because we see that America is on the brink of something that's catastrophic, and we need to ensure that we have as much neutrality as we can in maintaining what is it, rule of law, right?
Mm.
See, you have to understand. Oh no, brother Karras, that's so fanatical. That's so fantastical. Is it really? They're literally telling people, I don't care how much I robbed you. I'm going back in there and I'm gonna still get in the pockets of Niger.
That's how I look at it. It's like they bogarting. I know you said earlier they talking about sign agreements. How can you say you sign an agreement? But truthfully, it was when you was under duress. You was forced to sign something. So it's not an agreement. You've
You
been
sign
forced
an
to sign
agreement with
something.
a gun
Yeah,
to your head. Here's your agreement. Is
yeah,
that fair? If this was,
yeah,
you got to understand. If you could empathize, right? People in the United States would say, man, that is crazy. Why would you ever do that? Why would you ever? Okay, well, now you know how we feel. You get what I'm saying? There's really a lack of empathy that's there because if you really can't empathize with people, then really what good are you as a people? And here's the thing. That empathy was lost on this whatever nation this corporation
yeah.
centuries ago. Because why? I can't empathize with somebody that took captivity. So why? So now you're literally in a curse, and those curses are now manifesting themselves in this generation. Because why? Because everybody's going to try and do whatever they can to step on everybody else. That's what a zombie does. They got to eat brains. And this whole thing is a brain dead system.
Mm.
And we're like, all right, well, where do we go from here? The zombies are eating brains. Oh, you got to vote. Eat the brains. Vote for what? Oh, if you want to make things better, eat the brains.
So let me ask you something, Karis. So with what the division going on in Congress and this um, this near threat of a nuclear war. I mean, it seemed kind of crazy to me. I'm gonna put it that way. The reason why I say it because you got a division going on in Congress, and then you got a war that is at your doorstep. When they're saying, "Hey, we're running out of regular ammunition. The only thing we got left are nuclear weapons." I'm just trying to make sense out of it because if you know you're about to get into a fight with your neighbor, but you and your wife is having issues in your own house, how in the world are you trying to fight somebody else and you need to work out your issues with your own family or within your own house? How is that possible? So now my question is, what is your take on the House of the West and this war or this, this threat? And this threat seems very, very liable. That hey, this is on the horizon, and then they saying that who's going to strike first?
Well, yeah, and that's going to be the question. To me, that's always the most ominous question. Who's going to strike first?
Hmm.
And that's the whole thing. Look, I've always said this, and I'm going to say this on Q2UA, and I'm going to say this and I've said this on my platform. The West is going to strike first because here's the thing: they have no chance but to. What Russia did in Ukraine was literally push the border. And I think people have to understand there was an actual referendum for the people there in Ukraine to secede from Ukraine because of ethnic fighting and ethnic violence that was going on under direction of the Ukrainian government. That's just like saying, hey, Florida kept having um, the federal forces come on down here and start, wreaking havoc in a lot of its cities and, doing things to Floridians in the state of Florida. And the Floridians say, you know what, we want to join up with Cuba. We want to become,
Hmm.
because we would have more protection under Cuba. That's literally what happened. Same with either Arizona or Texas. They say the same thing. The US is doing this and this to us.
Hmm.
So, so the crazy thing is yeah, exactly what Roger was saying. Now you have the Ukrainians literally having a generation die out. So Ukraine is never going to be Ukraine ever again. Ukraine is,
They said it was like 500,000 men that got killed.
when they say it's 500,000,
Agitax.
remember, they always report.
So I mean, I know, and I do know that the 10 toes are going to turn on the United States. And truthfully, man, I can see that happening anytime because I'm just looking at a lot of stuff that this nation has orchestrated some unnecessary things.
Well, let's also bring this into the foreground. It's not just this nation, okay? You also had a lot of things with Brits, and you had a lot of things with the French. I always look at it like this: this nation will be the scapegoat, right? Oh, it's their fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. See, we're not as bad as the U.S. It's the U.S.'s fault. Don't think that these other nations aren't viewing the U.S. this way. That is the typical, throw you under the bus scenario, and that's what they're getting ready to do, right? This nation's gonna get thrown under the bus. See, look, they never apologized for slavery. See how they always treated the people around the world. See, but you understand what ended up happening was that the U.S. literally put itself in that position. Look, we would have healed Babylon. We would have healed this place, but you needed to heal because if not, you're going to be exploited. And now these nations are going to exploit this country. Simple. Hey, it's their fault. Look, I'm not going to take the blame. They're going to take the blame. Wow, for real? Y'all going to do us like this? Yep. That's what I'm going to say. Yep.
So you're saying that these people here in the United States know exactly who the jewels of Yah is, and if they did say, hey, you know what, we're gonna let these people go.
I wouldn't say that. I want to say all that. I would say probably in the last breath of desperation, hey, if you want to leave, you all can leave, or we're giving you, this or that, or we're having allowances to leave. So there's going to be some sort of a mechanism for us to go, but that's only because that will be in the last dying breaths, right? The last hopes of survival as a zombie nation. We've seen that. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's a zombie nation. There's no other way to describe it. But when you see that and how you see it, you just see. Think about this, Mike. Think about 3 years ago. Would we had ever even imagined seeing what we're seeing 3 years ago?
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't.
No, they couldn't imagine it either. Man, 2020, yeah, right. We ain't gonna go to war with Russia. Are you kidding? That would be like suicide. You're a zombie nation. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna do everything that's not within your best interest at all. And guess, you see what I'm saying? What are you trying to do? You're trying to eat everybody else's resources. You're trying to eat off of everyone else's plate. And they're like, nah, get off of my plate. If you're on my plate, I'm gonna tell on you. Who you gonna tell? I'm gonna tell that bear. I'm gonna tell on you with that bear. Oh snap! No, we leave those bears alone. Zombies got to leave those bears alone. Zombies can't measure up to the bear, and they see that.
But now at the same time, with the judgment that is for the West, I mean, I'm looking at, I'm still looking at that beast Rome, the Roman Catholic Church.
I'm gonna say this. To me, it really doesn't matter with Rome. You know how many times Rome has been moved? I mean, the seat of power has been moved. It's been moved quite frequently over the course of time. So, I don't look at it as a physical, manifestation. I do think that, to be honest, it's a spiritual one. Now, they may have a physical type of setup prop, but when we get out of these two legs of iron and we're in the legs, or the toes,
10 toes, yeah.
10 toes, yeah, it doesn't matter where it's going to be at.
But I'm just saying, but it will experience a destruction from a scriptural standpoint.
It'll the destruction.
Only reason I say that,
We have
because
to look at destruction over time, right? If you leave things alone, what ends up happening, especially here, let me tell you what happens here in the South. If you don't, power wash, if you don't take care of the exterior of your house, well, guess what will happen? That mold will start getting into it. Things will start growing into it. Vines will start growing in, and then it will start taking out the structures. Those roots will start growing in and start taking out different things. Things will start to rust. Where the weather will have wear and tear, and then eventually that structure collapses when it's been left alone. And that's, to me, is what will happen. It's not going to be Rome is just going to fall. It's not going to be a fall all at once, but it's going to be, there's nothing to support it. There's nothing to take care of it. Oh, you're talking about that? Nah, I'll leave that alone. I'm returning to the practices, the relationship that our forefathers had with our Heavenly Father. You see what I'm saying? That, to me, that's what will start happening. Because why? Because the evidence will be there.
Well, I was looking at the paperwork that these popes put in place in order to put us into slavery, and according to scripture, Yah said he's going to deal with those particular nations of people who has mistreated his people. And I do know that, the Roman Catholic, hey, they went into Jerusalem, did what they did in 70 CE, and took it well past 70 CE.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, they're the ones in my mind, they're the ones that's very upset. If you don't know what's going on, the Roman Catholic Church is actually, they're very upset with the conservatism that's happening in the United States. The Pope is actually upset. Well, why is the Pope upset? Because why? Because that's exposing the Roman Catholic design. It really is. Because
I can believe that now. I can believe that.
They understand the fragility that's going on. Don't think that you have a global fragility act and not really understand the fragility that's being targeted, right? Don't think it's not I want to say the global fragility. I'm going to say the Western Fragility Act.
But let me ask you something though. Why is it that the Roman Catholic is the only religion, if I'm not mistaken now, that has a seat in the UN?
Because that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's exactly what it is. Don't think that these powers aren't set up the way that they're set up just for happenstance. They are set up for that particular purpose. But their purpose is now being threatened. It's now being threatened, and it's being threatened on all fronts because conservatism threatens Rome.
So now,
go ahead.
But now, I'm looking at it like this, because the Catholic, every time there's a war, they're the only ones that come out on top. That is, that made money off of the war.
Yeah.
But when I looked into it, they have more. They bought into the resources, metal, all the different resources that it takes to fight a war.
because you're seeing what's been happening. Don't think that these nations don't know what's going on and they see it. Look, they are getting mad because they're losing control in sub-Saharan Africa. Because why? Because now people are questioning, well, what is really the ideology of the Roman Catholic Church? What is really the ideology of the West? What is really going on with things? Look, it's real easy to not have questions. Just don't question anything. If you have a question, keep it to yourself. If you keep it to yourself, take it to your grave. That's been, you understand? That was literally the thought process. Now you have the folks on the continent. You have our brothers and sisters on the continent now beginning to raise their head up and they're asking the questions. Well, why? Look, I was a Roman Catholic, but I read the word. And when I read
Mm-hmm.
this word was totally different than what anything they had told me. And that's what they hate. They literally hate when you read those scriptures. Oh, you read the scriptures? Well, man, I was trying to keep it in English, and I knew that you could only speak, your dialect of Swahili, and that's the problems that they're facing. Because why? Because they're dealing with questions that they simply do not want to answer. They're dealing with questions that simply in the historical records of the illiloquy and the dumb diverses. And you can't say, well, that's just because it is. I'm going to keep you subjugated because that's the way it is. Okay, well, if that's the case. And when the Most High turns us around and when you're subjugated, don't ask us anything because we'll remember this. We're going to keep a historical record. That's what they're afraid of. Now they're going to try their best. Remember, they're going to try their best to be the heroes and the good guys.
Yeah,
But they're
yeah.
going to say, "Oh, well, all of a sudden we had wicked behind popes, and now we have a pope that's not wicked, and he finally recognizes that you are actually the children. Oh, we apologize. Oh, we want to give you this. Oh, we want to give you that."
Oh, fall for the okie doke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Oh, it was
I
the
mean, I can
United.
see that.
You get what I'm telling
Hmm.
you? It's a scapegoatism. Oh, oops, it was the United States that did that to you. My bad.
I know it was Jacoba did one show, and it did not, it didn't even dawn on me when he did his research. He come to find out that both world wars was always about Africa, and I'm like,
Mhm.
no. And then I started going back, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, and
What
here
is
we
this?
are
What is
at a
this
third one.
world war going to be about? The
It,
resources on the
mhm.
continent.
This is the mother of all wars. That
Hmm.
is from a man's standpoint. And now I'm like, oh, now it's making sense. And now when
Yeah.
Rome is talking about this here and then thing, oh yeah, Big Daddy been telling them what to do, and they not doing what Big Daddy say. So he's getting upset with his little red outfit on. So that's the way I'm seeing it now.
Yes.
Um, and it just hitting the fan. It's
Yep.
hitting the fan.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
And this
Mm.
is why. And this is why, family. This is why with Q2UA, we're committed to our mission of building critical infrastructure and economic development on the continent. Please help us continue the work by visiting questuniteafrica.org and becoming a Patreon, supporting our popcorn fundraiser, purchasing your inaugural Q2UA polo shirt, or even signing up to be a valued Q2UA volunteer. And again, when this live goes off, the conversation doesn't stop. You can join us on Facebook and let us know what you think. Let us know what you all um, see and understand. I see some excellent comments. Thank you for Deborah and prayer supply. Yeah, the Pope recently said something like this: "The world is about to crash." Of course, but whose world? It's their world. Because why? Because they're losing the capacity of getting to the resources. So, this is where we're on. This is where we're on at. And I just got some good news because there's some other things that's going on with Quest Unite Africa because paperwork is coming through.
Yeah,
And
there
that
you go.
paperwork was through, on the Tanzanian side. Hallelujah. And we're needing some paperwork to go through here on the U.S. side. So keep Q2UA in your prayers, family. So, this is where we're on at in this time. And, I thank Brother Michael for joining us. I think this is a great format that we will, I'm going to say, expound on because, again, be patient as we're going through these format changes. But I think that this is a little bit better. And honestly, this provided a much more focused element of how we presented this information. So again, thank you all, family. And as we had discussed, now is the time.
Yes.
Now is the time. This is very important. This is, I don't understand. When we first started off Quest Unite Africa, we were starting off because, things were failing. Companies were failing. And let me tell you what they're going to say. Let me tell you what they're going to say. Because here's the wickedness of the system. I'm going to bring this on over here. And I'm going to present this. Because these always have caveats. Let me present this. They'll say here, the September job report. Okay, now this is from CNBC, Fair Use Control C. And I'm gonna put this in here. Because this is what they always do, family. This is what they always do. It's without fail. Let me bring this up. Payrolls increased by 336,000 in September, much more than expected. Job growth was stronger than expected. A sign the U.S. economy is hanging tough. Now, here's the problem that they have and what they always do. They'll say, yeah, here's all this, yada, yada, yada. Here's that. Payrolls, but look at the decrease. Wages are decreasing.
Plunging.
So you can be on a payroll, but you ain't making money. And on top of that, look, they're going to revise the payrolls. And it always happens. This is breaking news. Please check here for updates. So they want to give you that caveat. Because why? Because then they'll tell you, oh, well, that was the initial, but it really was this. But it really was that. So you're telling me in the middle of a stock route in a treasury bond sell-off, I'm trying to give you, and that's what they're going to say. We're going to give you good news so we can get, end this week on the highs. Well, what does that really mean? That means nobody's even getting paid.
Because I'm probably one of them. Because I ain't see none of that money.
Yeah. No, that just means be happy that you got a job because you lost your job and then you went into a job that's less. You may have had the same job, but then you had to lose your job, get fired, and then you have to go into a job that's less, that pays less. What does that do? Man, that affects you. That affects you in a huge way.
Yes, it does.
I'm feeling that. I understand that. I'm a product of that. But I think the Most High that I understand, okay, I had to grow through this. I had to learn through this. But he's still Elohim. But there's going to be a lot of people. Like I said earlier this week in Covenant Awakenings, the job that I had worked at 6 months ago, all those folks there got fired.
Oh, yeah.
They're all looking for jobs. They're all trying to figure out, well, I thought our economy's strong. You understand, they'll never tell you that this thing is gonna hit the toilet until it gets flushed. That's why you can't take a chance. Look, cursed is the man that what? That trusts in his flesh. You can't trust. You cannot trust. And what we ask is that you help us with Quest Unite Africa so we can do the work that the Most High has allowed us to do in this time that we're doing it. Because why? Because we see what's going on in this nation. We see what's happening in this world. And this is the time to prepare. This is the time to help, to build, to reach out to our brothers and sisters on our continent, to get on over these mother newborn kits, to distribute things, to talk to folks. And this is the Most High's timing.
They cause all this trouble. We woke up. We're seeing what they're doing. And now we're making moves according to Yah's desire to go back to the continent to amend or make relationships with our family, to reconnect with them. And this is costing money to do that, which they brought this nonsense into play. This is not,
They've always did it to themselves. And here's the thing: there's gonna always be no fault found in Judah. Now, what we say, some things may sound controversial, some things may sound disheartening, but here's the thing: you'll never be able to say that we lied to you. I may, look, I'll say what I say, I'll do what I do, but you can never say that I lied. So, with that, Brother Mike, any other words before I shut this thing down?
I thought you was bringing on somebody, the panel or something.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss because
I got you.
Yeah. Like I said, there's some different things we need to do. We want to make this thing a little bit more focused. Because honestly, yeah, to me, this is a good discussion. This is a focused discussion. Yeah, thank you, Brother Mike, for your insight as always, because we do need that prophetic understanding, as the scriptures dictate. We're not dictating this or saying this because we're not saying this just because, but what we are doing is we understand what's being said and we're doing what the word has said, because this is something that we have all been called to do. Not just Mike, not just myself, but every one of us. We've been called to do something in this season. We're in this season for a reason. So when you're talking to your brothers and your sisters, when you're talking to your family, when you're talking to your mothers and your fathers, your sons and your daughters, your husbands and your wives, when you're talking to your loved ones, you're explaining to them, this is what's going on. Nothing that we've been saying here, nothing has failed. And to be honest, with my calculation, this is only getting worse. So we have to be mindful of everything that we do, because we truly don't know how much time we really have.
That's true. Because, man, I ain't gonna lie to you. I know the scriptures did say that within an hour Babylon will be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
When I was up last night, I mean, and listening to the scriptures, and I'm like, man, in an hour?
Yeah.
In an hour. That's heavy, bro. I mean, you literally sit back and think about it. You know, that's very heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I was looking at it. I mean, whew, you've been here around here for hundreds of years, and 1 hour completely destroyed.
Yeah, all of a sudden, it's gonna overtake us quickly, but you're seeing the signs. You're seeing the signs. So we'll have more to discuss next week on Quest to Unite Africa. But again, please join us on Facebook to continue this conversation. Again, thank you for spending this hour and a half with us. And for more, please visit quest2uniteafrica.org. That is quest2uniteafrica.org. And with that said, family, Most High willing, we'll be back next week as we begin to mature this panel and bring on more guests, and we'll go and grow from there. Hallelujah. So with that said, family, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom. Peace and blessings, Yasharel.